Every 4 years, something impossible happens. Schools pause lessons. Meetings are suddenly rescheduled. Restaurants become silent, then explode with cheers. Complete strangers hug each other in the street. Some people cry. Others fall to their knees. Millions lose sleep. Billions stop whatever they're doing to watch 22 people chase a ball for 90 minutes. The strange part? Most of those people know they have absolutely no control over the result. Not one pass, not one goal, not one decision. So why does it feel so personal? Why does your heart race, as if you're the one standing on the pitch? Why does one goal make an entire country celebrate, while another leaves millions speechless? Most people think it's because they love football. But what if football isn't the real reason? What if the World Cup is quietly awakening something far older than football itself? Something your brain inherited thousands of years before stadiums, before television, before the game even existed. Imagine waking up 10,000 years ago. You don't live in a city. You live in a tribe. Everything depends on the people around you. Food, protection, survival. Being part of the group isn't just important. It's the difference between life and death. Psychologists believe our brains evolved to constantly ask one question: who are my people? Thousands of years later, we no longer hunt together. We don't defend villages with spears. Yet that ancient question never disappeared. It simply found new tribes, families, religions, countries, sports teams. The World Cup doesn't create tribal behavior. It reveals it. That's why people paint their faces, wear the same colors, sing the same songs, wave the same flag. They're not simply supporting a team. For a few unforgettable weeks, their brain believes something much bigger. These are my people. But here's where everything becomes fascinating. Because the biggest psychological change doesn't happen when your team scores. It happens. It happens before the match even begins. Most people believe the excitement begins with the kickoff. Psychologists know it begins much earlier. Think about the hours before a World Cup match. You're not even watching football yet, but your mind already is. You check the time, then the weather, then the team lineup. You watch predictions, read comments, text your friends, refresh social media again and again. Nothing has happened, yet somehow your heart is already beating faster. Why? Because your brain has entered one of its favorite states: anticipation. Here's something fascinating. The brain often releases more dopamine while expecting a reward than when the reward finally arrives. In other words, the waiting can sometimes feel more exciting than the winning. That's why fans spend days discussing a match before it's played. Who's starting? Who's injured? Who'll score first? Every prediction creates another possibility, and your brain loves possibilities, because possibilities keep the story alive. Now imagine the referee blows the whistle. 90,000 people stand up at the exact same moment. Millions more do the same in their homes. No one planned it. No one gave instructions. Yet thousands of hearts begin beating faster together. Scientists have found that during highly emotional sporting events, people watching the same match often show remarkably similar physiological responses. Their breathing changes. Their muscles tense. Their attention narrows. For a few moments, millions of separate minds begin reacting as one. Think about how incredible that is. People living on different continents, speaking different languages, watching from different time zones, can experience the exact same emotional surge at the exact same second. But here's where the psychology becomes even stranger. Because your brain quietly starts making one mistake. A mistake so powerful, it changes the meaning of every goal, every save, every victory, without you ever noticing. You stop saying, they scored. You start saying, we scored. One tiny word. 4 letters. Woke. We. That single word explains more about human psychology than most people realize. Because in that moment, the players are no longer just athletes. For your brain, They become an extension of you. And that's why what happens after a goal looks almost impossible to explain. The moment the ball hits the net, something extraordinary happens. A father jumps off the couch. A child screams at the television. A woman in another country hugs a complete stranger. A man falls to his knees with tears in his eyes. For a few unforgettable seconds, millions of people celebrate as if they had scored the goal, but they didn't. So why does the brain react as though it did? Imagine holding a mirror. When someone smiles at you, many of the same areas of your brain become active. When someone yawns, you suddenly feel like yawning too. Human beings are wired to mirror the emotions of other people. It's one of the reasons laughter spreads through a room, why panic spreads through a crowd, and why joy can become contagious. Now place 80,000 passionate fans inside one stadium. Add another billion watching around the world. One goal, one explosion of emotion. Suddenly, you're not just watching happiness, you're feeling it. The line between their victory and your victory quietly disappears. Psychologists call this identity fusion. It's one of the strongest emotional bonds the human mind can create. For a brief moment, your identity becomes connected to something bigger than yourself. The team doesn't feel like them anymore. It feels like us. That's why fans instinctively say, "We defended well. We deserve that goal. We're going to the final," even though they've never stepped onto the pitch. And here's something even stranger. The stronger your emotional connection becomes, the less your brain distinguishes between personal success and collective success. Winning starts feeling personal. Losing feels personal too. That's why some people can't sleep after a defeat. Why they replay missed chances in their minds for days. Why a single penalty can ruin an entire week. Logically, it makes no sense. Emotionally, it makes perfect sense. Because your brain isn't protecting a football team. It's protecting your identity. But here's the twist. Almost nobody sees coming. If football were only about winning, people would stop supporting teams that keep losing. Yet millions never do. Season after season, year after year, sometimes for their entire lives. Why? What could possibly be stronger than the desire to win? The answer has nothing to do with football, and everything to do with one powerful human need, the need to belong. Once you understand that, you'll never look at football crowds the same way again. Then something incredible happens. The final whistle blows. One nation erupts. Another falls silent. Some people dance in the streets until sunrise. Others sit alone, staring at a television that has already gone dark. The match is over. But inside millions of minds, it isn't. Think about that. 90 minutes have passed. The players have left the field. The stadium lights begin to fade. Yet people are still replaying every pass, every mistake, every missed chance. Why? Because the match was never just happening on the field. It was happening inside the brain. The World Cup gives people something modern life rarely does. A shared emotional journey. For 90 minutes, politics disappears. Work disappears. Deadlines disappear. Even our personal problems seem smaller. Rich or poor, young or old, different languages, different religions, different cultures. For one brief moment, millions of strangers feel the exact same emotion. Fear, hope, relief, joy, heartbreak, together. Psychologists call this collective emotional synchronization, when thousands or even millions of people experience the same emotional event at the same time. It creates a feeling that's almost impossible to reproduce anywhere else. That's why people remember exactly where they were when their country scored that unforgettable goal. Not because the goal changed their life, but because it changed how they felt in that moment. And the brain remembers emotion far longer than information. Now think back to the beginning of this video. You thought the mystery was, why do billions of people watch the FIFA World Cup? But maybe that was never the real question. The real question is, why does the human brain spend its entire life searching for moments that make us feel connected to something bigger than ourselves? Maybe that's why we love concerts, festivals, national celebrations, and yes, the World Cup. Not because we need another football match, because deep inside, we all want to belong to a story that's bigger than our own. And for a few unforgettable weeks, the World Cup gives billions of people exactly that. A reason to hope together, celebrate together, suffer together, and dream together. So before this video ends, ask yourself one question. If football were only about a ball, why would it make billions of hearts beat faster at exactly the same moment? Because maybe it was never about the ball. It was never even about the trophy. It was about one ancient instinct that's been inside us for thousands of years, the need to belong. If this video changed the way you think about the FIFA World Cup, subscribe to Dark Psychology Decode. Every week, we uncover the hidden psychology behind human behavior, emotions, attraction, manipulation, and the invisible forces shaping the world around us. Because once you understand why people do what they do, you never see the world the same way again. Until next time, stay curious. Keep questioning what everyone else accepts. And remember, the greatest game in the world isn't played on the pitch. It's played inside the human mind.